Hey guys, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mark Weinberg. This is Rick DeLuca, and we are going to be talking about potential snow for tonight. So, has anybody heard that there could be a little bit of snow during the overnight hours?
Who hasn't heard at this point?
Yeah, it's definitely picking up some speed. Anytime you have snow here, it's kind of like a little pebble that starts rolling down the hill, and it
There's,
just gets going.
for lack of better terms, it's a snowball effect. I mean, it really,
I like that.
yeah, it
I like
builds and
that.
it builds. And you know what, too? It's kind of concerning when you go to bed and you want to wake up and know what to expect when you walk
Yeah,
outside.
no.
It's not like this is happening during the day. This is an overnight situation where people are wondering, what does this mean for Tuesday morning?
So if you guys are new here, by the way, this is our Studio C at WDRB. And what we have done over the last year is build into an ability to be able to stream live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, and all over the place. And so if you're joining us on the Facebook part of this, please, number one, let's see some thumbs up flying across the screen. And number two, let me just think for a second here. Rick, I think you probably have friends and family, and they're probably like, hey, Rick's going to find out what the weather is going to be. He already knows. But I'd love to know. And we have right now about 1,000 people on my page. Do you have friends that might be interested that are going to be curious if their kids are going to school, if they're going to, you're going to be driving on snow-covered roads in the morning? So what I'm going to ask you to do is share this video. So you just click the share button and they will then come in. And if we have about 1,000 people in here right now on my page and you share the video, let's say you have 100 people following you, now you've gone from 1,000 to 100,000 people that know we are going to be doing a live and it's important information. We have some fun with snow, obviously, but I think snow is one of the more interesting things we do, Rick, and I think it's because emotions are involved. Most people don't want severe weather.
Correct.
There's a fear, obviously, there's a respect, but when it comes to snow, there's a group that hates it. And there's a group that really, really wants it. And when they see a range, they always go to the top of the range and they want to wake up in the morning like a kid in a candy store and walk outside and see snow.
And I don't blame them for that. I mean, especially having a younger daughter, that is one of the greatest joys of seeing the smile on their face. And I know for some parents, it's like, oh, we're really going to do this again? It's a polarizing thing. Some people love it. Some people love to hate it. And we're in a situation here where it's going to be a wetter, heavier snow.
It really is.
As opposed to, the really fine, granular, fluffy kind of snow, that kind of the powdery. That's not going to be this kind of snow. It's going to be some slushy stuff, Mark. So we are watching the snow move in, and we're already seeing some flurries flying around.
I thought it was dandruff. But we were not able to.
I got my head and
verify
shoulders
that.
in, so now I took care of that problem. So we're in better shape now.
So what we're going to do during this video, again, if you guys appreciate this, I want to see some thumbs up flying across the screen. What we're going to do is we're going to spend some time. If you're new to the videos, the way the videos work is we're going to spend some time really in an in-depth dive into the setup, things we can't cover on TV. And then number two, we're going to go through everything that you want to see, the snow accumulation, the timeline, and then at the end, number three, you're going to get a chance to answer some questions. So I just want to start you off here by reminding you that we have a winter weather advisory in effect for our area. So the winter weather advisory covers almost the whole area, DeLuca.
Yeah, and this one does not have a Dare County in it, but every single other location is under that advisory. Beginning time, 9 p.m. in less than an hour. End time is going to be 10 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Now, the Weather Service, what they do is really like to put a pad on either side before it really starts, and then a couple hours after it ends, just because of travel concerns. They can start a little earlier. They may linger a little bit, but the core of this will certainly be overnight, around midnight, through 5 o'clock in the morning. And I also want to tell you, we have a special guest who has just joined us, and this is reporter extraordinaire Sir Richard Essex here. He's been out and about. Where were you earlier today?
Over
Magic?
Well, yeah, here in Louisville.
Magic Salt.
Yeah, we were about 1.5 miles from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was going on over there?
So they are a salt wholesaler, and we found them last year, kind of by accident. We followed somebody from the port of Indiana back over to the side to where they're delivering salt. They have a certain formulation of salt.
Okay.
They use molasses, magnesium, mix it all together, and it's this brown-looking salt, and you can smell it.
Is it like a sweet smell?
It is a sweet smell.
Really?
And you can eat it, they told me.
Did you have?
Yes,
Were you making margaritas over there?
No, we were not.
Oh.
But we were tempted. We were tempted. But you could smell it. You can eat it. And I didn't try it.
You didn't bring me. Oh, I need a sample of those.
I'll bring
Nick.
some.
Yeah,
back
bring
for
some,
you.
please.
I'll
Nick.
bring some back.
I need some to try and also to throw it on my
Yeah,
sidewalk.
exactly. That's what. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and get some. But because it has the the different ingredients in it, it will kind of stick to the pavement, to the concrete, and so when it gets colder, it doesn't wash away. Yeah, or it's effective.
Right.
When it's cold.
And it also allows that temperature to be much lower in terms of the effectiveness.
Right.
Like as low as 15 below zero.
Yeah,
I believe.
I think he said down to like 30.
30.
Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
30.
that I mean, so that's the molasses is new to me. That
Really?
one.
Now that's something they've done in Indiana for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that.
Molasses has been around for a while.
All right. Well, listen. You learn something
It's
new.
been around longer than I have. That's a long
Well,
time.
I'm not going to say anything about that. You learn something new every day. Richard's sharply dressed here. You're going to be back out, right? For the 10?
Yeah, I'll be out at 10 and 11 in the I don't know what we call that vehicle. Looks like a police car.
Yeah, it's the all black car. And also, I don't know if you guys know this. You told me this a while ago. But Richard Essex used to be a snowplow driver. So he knows the ins and outs of this better than anybody.
Snow, yeah.
I mean, so what? Okay, so we're talking about slushy stuff. Any advice you have to those tomorrow morning getting out?
Well, I mean, for somebody my age that has been around, I remember the blizzard of '78. I was in school with the blizzard of '78, and you really like the snow. I mean, like today, I'm kind of looking forward to the snow coming. But on the other side of it, I'm like, it's going to snow again.
Yeah, the reality sets in a little bit.
And then you have to, you worry about, sliding off or, getting stuck and all these different things.
Yeah. And it's not even. Sometimes it's not you have to worry about. You're just so worried about.
It's your family.
Yeah, and everyone else that's out in the road, and it's like even if you're being, defensive, safe driver, it doesn't mean everyone else is. And you got one person going 20, and you got this person in a pickup blowing by at 80 miles an hour. For me, I feel like it's that variety of different kind of drivers, some who are timid and some who are too aggressive, that really cause a lot of problems here. And we always get problems.
And that's what just because you have four-wheel drive does not mean that you can go 80 on the interstate.
Gotcha. All right. Well, he'll be out at 10, so make sure you watch WDRB News at 10 o'clock, and Richard will be out because of this winter weather advisory. So thank you so much, Richard, for coming in and having a quick chat with us. We really appreciate your time and all the work. Richard's out there no matter what the weather is. Severe weather, snowy weather. So keep an eye out for him tonight in the newscast. We appreciate you having here, Richard.
Richard was on our April 2nd tornado. He was in J-Town almost instantaneously after that event occurred. All right, so let's spend some time now on the meteorological part of this, Rick. This is really where I think, and I assume a lot of people have tuned in is for this part of the story. Right. So the winter weather advisory, as Rick noted, the Weather Service traditionally is going to give themselves a little leadway on both sides. Do I think 9's a little early in transparency? Yes. Do I think 10's a little late in transparency? Yes. But again, as Rick noted, they're giving themselves a little pad here. So Rick, as we look around our area, you mentioned you were out grabbing us dinner, and Rick did grab us dinner this evening because we had to do the video. Right. So you were out. It was probably around 7:15, and you just saw some spits out there.
Spits, a flurry. I could probably count them on one hand, like 5 flakes maybe that came down, and that was here in downtown Louisville, where I'm Muhammad Ali. Just to give you a reference point, we've already had reports of flurries that were in Middletown, northwest here around Bedford. They may be getting a little bit more snow than the rest of us at this point in time. And as you zoom in, you can see that.
Yeah, it's showing up.
It's showing up. And the scale that we have, the darker blues indicate the moderate to heavier snow, and the lighter blues are like the flurries of the light stuff.
And there's an interesting fact about radars. So when we use radars, the radars can't scan just exactly at the horizon. If they did, the radar beam runs into your house, it runs into buildings, it runs into trees. So the solution to that is that we angle the radar up a half a degree. That's kind of like a who cares, right? True. But now think about it. If the beam's not aimed directly towards the horizon, it's moving up. That means the further you get away from the radar, the higher we're looking up into the sky. So the radar beam in our Bedford area is around 3,000 feet. So some of this may not necessarily be making it down to the ground, but clearly that's an area where we're seeing more of it. And Rick, we're now starting to see the storm coming together, where it was very, very gapped and broken to the west. Now we're starting to see what is the makings of two storms here. And this, I think, is what kind of is the most interesting part of all of this to me. You and I have been doing this a long time. When we have phasing of storms, it's something different. And
It's
the term
critical.
phase is an interesting one. So there are clearly two low pressures here, and you can see it on this map. If you look towards the northwest, notice you see on this map, you see that we've got more snow near Indy, and then we've got more precipitation near Nashville and towards Memphis. And this means that there's a northern and a southern branch. And this idea of phasing, Rick, would be like you're pushing a car by yourself and you're trying to move that car. I'm right next to Rick and I'm also trying to push a car. Both of these cars are in neutral. We're not really getting the car to move anywhere. Now, Rick and I are like, you know what? Let's combine forces. If we push this car together, now the car is going to move. And that's what's trying to happen here is what we're seeing is these storms trying to now combine their forces.
Right. And they're doing it right on top of us, if not a little bit off to the east. If we had this phasing, let's say 100 miles off to the west, we'd be in full out, more of a winter scenario. While we do get some accumulations out of this, we don't have that phasing that's right on top of us or beforehand, which means the storm is in the process of coming together. And Mark, you talked about the two phases. So in the two jets, we have the Pacific and the polar. One brings the cold, one brings the moisture. And that's what it takes to get wintry precip around the area. You got to have the moisture, you got to have the cold. And we are getting both of those elements pulled together right now, which is why we're going to see that snap. I think it's pretty cool, looking at this and looking at some of the data that picks up on it pretty well, how we quickly snap over to snow once we get to a certain temperature and a certain time.
And so when we start to look at this, there's a couple of things at least that I'd note here that I find interesting on this, Rick. We see that on trajectory towards southern Indiana, there's a little less. On trajectory towards Kentucky, there is more. And Louisville rides right on the northern edge of that, which is a big deal. So what we're starting to see is what we refer to as hints of a deformation band.
Right.
These bands are a little bit of an enhance. So let's use an example. Everybody gets an inch of rain. If there's a deformation zone, what's different is now you may be able to get, let's say, 3 inches. You're like, well, both of those numbers aren't huge. I'd agree. But now let's say we're talking about a big storm. You may get 6 inches of snow. And in the deformation band, now maybe you can get 10 inches.
Right.
So these deformation bands, while different level of quantity, it does appear that one of those is going to be probably between the parkways and Louisville.
And pinpointing where that zone is extremely important. You have to think of this in terms of meteorology. A deformation zone, typically northwest of the low pressure, which usually always is, but it has to do with the wind field. So up in the upper layers, you are getting stretching and shearing of the wind, and that allows for more precipitation to fall in that particular zone. So defining where these deformation bands go and where they're going to set up is crucial to getting which spots in our area really had that up potential, Mark. And that's the key.
And so the wider perspective shows this big phase storm that's in the process of phasing moving across our area. These are somewhat interesting because when storms phase over our area, we start to see increasing amounts as it moves east. When they phase just before our area, we get walloped.
Right.
And we had a phase storm in January of this year when we got 10 inches of snow. Some of obviously the memorable phases are 1998. 2004, which was legendary in December, 94, which nobody will ever forget.
No.
78, 77 had phasing of storms. So when you get these true phase storms that move across our area, they certainly grab your attention. So Rick, looking outside now, we can kind of see as we look at downtown Louisville here, maybe what almost appears like a little haze, and that may have been that the flurries that were falling when you were out there a little bit earlier. So Louisville's come down, and that dew point, Rick, is something that's seriously, seriously important.
Still 24.
And so we talk about a dew point. I hear this in public now. I go somewhere, and someone's like, hey, how about that dew point? I'm like, yeah, do you know what it means? And they're like, no, dew points are important because in this case, when you look at this graphic, Rick, you're like 36 degrees. Mark, I went to college. I know that snow occurs at 32, but that low dew point is going to help make that happen.
Right. And dew point is an absolute measurement of how much moisture is in the atmosphere. And this comes down to what we call evaporative cooling.
Mm-hmm.
And evaporative cooling is allowing temperatures to fall down. And that's because latent heat is being absorbed. And as that happens, heat gets removed from the atmosphere. It pulls down the temperature. So the dew point comes up, temperature comes down, and at some point you get to that perfect balance where it's cold enough to have snow and help not just, you know, that mixture, but it looks like we'll have several hours of pure snow.
I saw a post today where somebody said something's changing. This whole storm is different now. And it was, they were saying that the evaporative cooling's occurring. It was like, wait a minute. Evaporative cooling was always going to occur on this. 3 days out was blatantly obvious this was an evaporative cooling storm. Hence, the preferred mode of precip was going to be snow. So Louisville sits at 36 degrees. Remember, our camera network around the area is going to become highly valuable here because we're going to be able to show you what's going on in your town all night long and into that drive tomorrow. 36 degrees right now in E-Town. Corydon, festive. Your temperature right now sits at 34. And Rick, what you notice is Corydon's a little further west than Louisville. Precip's a little closer. Evaporative cooling, as you noted, is doing work.
It is doing work. And we're seeing that happening here all around the area. Seymour, where are you? Ooh, at the freezing mark.
And it's really cool to see meteorology working. I love it. But so the temperature and dew point are getting closer. And you can see these low dew points exist area wide. So this is going to tug our temperatures down all across the area. By the way, for what it's worth right now, around Metro, we're sitting around 35. Also worth noting that the pavement in Louisville is around 40 to 43.
40, right.
So what can overcome that is intensity. So if you get intensity, you can get slick roadways. The areas that see lighter intensity, which I think may include some parts of southern Indiana, may not be able to overcome those roadways. They may actually stay just wet. But you can see around the area, our temperatures as it stand are in the 30s. So Rick, from here, I already saw somebody commenting and saying, Mark, can you get to it and start to talk about the amounts? And yeah, we absolutely can. And let me go ahead and make this a little smaller and make the graphic a little bit bigger. So Rick, this is 30 minutes from now, 40 minutes from now, and we're seeing that snow in areas like Seymour and North Fern and in Paoli. Right. Second, we see generally only rain, although I would argue that's probably going to have some sleet mixed in E-Town because those dew points are low. We've seen this over and over again.
Right. And sleet, those are those tiny little ice pellets that kind of ping, 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 bounce off the ground. But we are going to switch to snow pretty quickly here. That's 9 o'clock, which shows some of those light mixed showers, more liquid south, more of the frozen stuff off to the north. But it's 11 to midnight. That is the crucial time where we see snow overspreading everyone, including here in Louisville Metro. And it's also at that point that we see that quick snap. And that snap is when we go to pure snow. And that should happen shortly after midnight. By 1 o'clock in the morning, we are looking at snow. There is no question about it. And it could be coming down at a pretty good pace here, which is why I'm most concerned if people have to travel during the snow, just because.
Yeah, those late nighters, the early risers.
Yeah, I mean, everyone works different schedules. It's not like everyone's a 9 to 5. People have odd work hours, and yeah, us included. So I know, you know, the typical 9 to 5 doesn't apply to everyone. So that's why we're trying to give you this hour by hour outlook here.
And so Rick is spot on in that 11 to midnight is when we think the snap occurs. And that is actually when that phasing is starting to happen. Remember, this phasing is something important because when it phases, it's now 2 people pushing the car. So now that air that was rising at, let's just say, 5 miles an hour, it's obviously going to be more. It could be more than that. It's going to increase. The lift rises, more precipitation, things go downhill. And you can see, I mean, we're talking at 2 a.m. We've got widespread snow in the area. And Rick, as you noted, there was a day where people would only go to work 9 to 5, but we have people in particular in our area because we have shift workers that are going to be going into work at 2 a.m. And I would tell you that if you're on the roads anywhere from around 1:30 through around 6 a.m., that's when I think those roads are going to be the worst.
Absolutely.
And so you can see from 2 through 4, Rick, the only area we're probably dealing with rain, and it may be marginally rain, would be around Columbia.
Yeah. And that's Adair County's not in the advisory. Makes some sense there. And temperatures there stay above freezing for the most part, which eliminates the possibility for freezing rain. And then we still have snow coming down at 4. Is it as heavy? No. It's beginning to taper off, but we still have some light snow coming down at 4. Around 5 to 7 is when you start to see the precipitation pull away. And by 7 a.m., it looks like flurries flying around. You're not going to be waking up tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. to puking levels of snow.
Mhm.
The flakes will be flying. The damage that has been done is already going to be on the ground. And you can see by 7, we're around 30, which means it's going to be a cold start. And then we start to warm up by the afternoon, which means we're going to have these situations where we thaw out and then refreeze once again overnight.
Which, interesting enough, to Richard's point when he was in here earlier, which I found super fascinating, is they put something in there that's trying to get it to stick.
Yeah, the
We've been doing
molasses.
this for a while. Brine, for instance, is one of those where you don't brine if it's going to rain because it washes
Yeah,
away.
completely
But what
useless.
these guys have obviously done is they're saying, you know what, I'm going to put salt on the ground and make sure it doesn't wash away by putting the molasses in there. I thought that was pretty
It was,
brilliant.
Richard brought the science tonight and the molasses.
And the molasses and some sense as well. So from here, people want to know snow. And Rick, one of the things that we don't do is we don't post raw computer model snow output on the web. The reason we don't do this is because it can be exceptionally misleading. So what we do is we try to contain this in an area where we can explain what it means. So number one, and somebody asked this question earlier about snow ratios. So there's something we refer to as what we call liquid to snow ratios. So in our area, science has shown that we're normally about 12-1, meaning if 1 inch of liquid was to fall, 12 inches of snow would occur. 1 inch of liquid, 12 inches of snow. This scenario is a little bit different. And I did the math, by the way, on this one, and I came out to about 9-1. So 9-1, meaning 1 inch of liquid would equate to 9 inches of snow. Now, we have seen in this area ratios at times that I'm not going to say I believed it, but where ratios were measured at 40 to 50 to 1, meaning if 1 inch of liquid was to fall, 40 to 50 inches of snow would occur. So again, I'm going to move on a little bit from that because I'll start to twitch. But what you're seeing here is based off of a 10-1.
Yeah.
So this then gives you the concept of subtract about 10%. So from these numbers, subtract about 3 to 4 tenths of an inch. Rick, this is the European computer model. We're going to show several models here. The European statistically is one of the kings. It may not necessarily be in all scenarios, but statistically from a weather model, this is probably the king of models.
This is the king. And we look at this not only long range, but also short range, because sometimes we just have models that we kind of use certain ones. Everyone, like Marcus said before, it's like a tool. Depends on how long, what its strengths are. This one is not only a long-term expert, but also short-term. It does a pretty good job as a synoptic model. This really has a nice swath of around 1 to 3, given some locations that will not end up in that 1 threshold. There's going to be some underachievers, unfortunately.
We do think so.
But this does show a pretty solid 1 to 3 across a large chunk of our area, which also includes Louisville.
And another interesting thing, and I want to draw it out because this is shown up in a lot of data.
There it is.
That there is this area, this nose, if you will, where it's showing more snow. Now, historically speaking, this is actually very common for this area, that as the storms start to phase, that an enhanced band develops somewhere in eastern Louisville, goes up 71 towards Cincy, and you get a little bit more snow in this area. As we look at this particular computer model, again, this is the European computer model. What we see on this model is that it does show southern Indiana getting equally into the 1 to 3, and then towards Columbia, it shows lower numbers. We don't have any problems with this. We're going to now move on to the NAM computer model. The NAM is a more high-res computer model. So this computer model is something we would use during severe weather, heavy rain, and even in snow, if there's a convective element, a thunderstorm type of element. This is not that scenario, but what I find interesting about the NAM here, again, subtracting about 10%, is it's showing a lot of our area in the 1 to 3, but it's also hinting at these underproducers in areas like Paoli, Bedford, through Seymour, and North Vernon.
And it also lines up with that band. It's pretty close to where the European shows that band, and that allows us to have higher confidence into where we draw these snow zones. Making a snow map for a meteorologist, it's a process that can make you pull your hair out. I mean,
we have a infamy thing in our weather center about the snow. You know, Matthew texted me today.
What? What do you
So
say?
Matthew, little backstory here. So we do something called the Matrix, is what we refer
Yes,
to it
the
as.
Matrix.
So when we put snow together, we determine what the ratios are going to be in 6-hour blocks.
Right, and this has nothing to do with Mr. Anderson, by the way. Just
Does
to be
not have anything to do with Mr. Anderson, but I can move like weird. But what we do is we try to create these to determine how much precipitation would fall, and then we back build it into snow by understanding the ratios. The ratios are not changing much on this one, but Matthew did text me today, and he said, "Hey, are you going to do the Matrix today?" I said, I'm probably not going to do a real one. He's like, "Okay," because I was going to ask if I could come into work today.
Oh, see, he knows. I mean that they're so crucial, and it's one of your it's one of those skills that you have, and it's one of those techniques that it's effective because it's broken down, and we're not just looking at Louisville. We're talking about Paoli, E-Town. We look up and down, north, south, east, west, and then talk about how much QPF or precipitation falls within a certain time, and then make sure that time matches up with the correct snow ratio. So it's a complicated process, but the end result can be a forecast that is far more detailed.
And I don't think we're just throwing darts at things. Look, I mean, I see snow maps out there where people are detailing every inch of snow, and it's just like, what?
At some point,
in Louisville,
at some point,
I've seen one. I saw a storm a couple years ago where part of Louisville got 2 inches and a part got 6. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
you can't.
You can't do it. And the urban heat island has such a weird effect in this too. We have donut holes. It'll be snowing all over, but just not in the downtown area.
So
and that's something you can't. Models can pick it up once in a while, but it's not something that they can. I mean, so you have to really look at all this stuff with some sense of, okay, there's going to be a little play, and you need to allow for that.
And one of the things you note here when you look at the NAM, by the way, is it also, like the Euro, is showing this slightly enhanced band that exists somewhere from near Louisville on the eastern side up 71. So I mention this because, again, these videos, we really get an opportunity to share a lot of detail. So from here, we're going to go to our in-house weather model. This is called Advanced Track. Advanced Track is a model that we have in-house. Look, it does well some scenarios, doesn't do well in other scenarios. It does have Louisville lower. I would argue that it still has that band, Rick, of slightly more enhanced, but this is normally not the area that it kind of creates two of them.
Bands, yeah.
So I think that's what makes this a little bit different. I think that maybe not be the way this is going to unfold.
No,
but I wanted to show it because, again, it's alive.
And there have been certain model runs that have shown kind of that two-band scenario.
Yes, bimodal.
Bimodal. And this is kind of shied away from that.
So a lot of the data showed those two a couple days ago and is kind of more congealed into one.
Correct, yeah.
You know, one of the things that we also note here when we look at this, Rick, is nothing's showing monster totals.
Good point.
Nothing's coming in with a 10-inch snow.
Right.
Nothing's coming in with an 8-inch snow. So I want to be clear on that. And we're going to last look at the HRRR computer model. The interesting thing I find about this one, Rick, is it looks very much like the Euro, similar to the NAM.
Correct.
It shows very little in areas like Columbia, and it shows somewhere near an inch in Paoli and in Seymour.
French Lick around there.
So we start to then get this scenario that you've now seen play out in the computer models in terms of, the timeline. You know that we're most concerned about 11 p.m. through around 6 a.m. You know that the data is showing this general 1 to 3-ish, but it has some hints that some could overproduce. And so from here, what we do want to share now is our forecast, what we put together here. And if you watched earlier in the day, you saw this. So Rick, one of the tweaks we made is that up to 1 inch, we nudged it a little further east because we do feel like areas like Paoli, Seymour, North Vernon, Bedford may end up on the lower end of the 1, or maybe end up to 1. And since you're on that verge, that's why those two bands exist so close.
And our philosophy is we like to give you a bottom number that we can promise, which means at least 1 in Louisville. Doesn't mean 3. Doesn't mean 1. It means anywhere from 1 to 3. So you really have to respect the range. So we can at least promise 1 here in Louisville. We cannot do that in areas like Paoli, right around the French Lick area, because we're not seeing the same storm come together as quickly. So those areas will end up with less. And then on the opposite side of that, the overachievers, looking at areas like Newcastle, through around Frankfurt, Shelbyville, Taylorsville, that's where you could see some higher totals, Mark. 2 to 4.
And you see why we did what we did. I'm not going to tell you that we copy computer models, because if you watch me, you know that is absolutely the opposite of who I am and what we are. But we understand the science as to why. So it has to do with where the phase is occurring, where the two jet streams start to energize. And that appears to be occurring right as it's passing Louisville. Hence the reason we felt a little bit more confidence in throwing the 2 to 4. So let's go through a couple of towns here on the 1 to 3. I'm going to call out your town. So if you're interested, I've got 1 to 3 for you in North Vernon, Seymour. I've got you for 1 to 3 in Bedford. I would argue that you're going to be on the lower side, and I really want to be clear on that. I've got you near 1 inch in Paoli. I've got you in 1 to 3 in Salem, although I may need to move you into just the up to 1. I've got you in Madison on the verge of the 2 to 4, and I think that's appropriate. Clarksville, Jeffersonville, I think you do belong in the 1 to 3. I've got Hardinsburg and Brandenburg. I've got you in Litchfield and E-Town. I've got you in Hodgenville, Munfordville into the 1 to 3. I've got you in Shepherdsville and in Mount Washington in the 1 to 3. And then as Rick noted here, we have you in the 2 to 4 in areas like Taylorsville. We've got you in the 2 to 4 if you live in Shelbyville, in Simpsonville. We've got you in the 2 to 4 on the eastern side of Oldham County. So let's call it near LaGrange or east, and Eminence, Newcastle, Jericho. We've got you in Carrollton in the 2 to 4, and we've got you in the 2 to 4 as well in the Madison area. So this will then give you an idea of where we stand. Now, Rick, one of the caveats to everything we just mentioned is there's still data coming in.
Correct.
And we strategically place our ranges so that we can throw a dart at the end. The last forecast then would come out before we go on at 10 o'clock as we get new data. That's going to be the dart. Where exactly is the 2 to 4 go, and do we need to make those minor tweaks for some parts of southern Indiana?
And snow maps, they're always being tweaked.
Always.
You may not notice them on air, but for us, like we are really trying to pinpoint how exactly we can make this as close to verification or what does happen and what does fall as possible. But I will say, Mark, tomorrow, let's say you have someone who wants to go to Cincinnati, you're going to have more problems as opposed to if you're going west on 64.
And part of that's also because of the timing. I mean, if you're in Cincy, it's going to be falling during the entire morning.
Exactly,
commute.
and it's going to be done if you went out west. So just please use caution if you're moving in that direction. We have a lot of people on here who are, saying what's going to happen in my town.
And so what we want to do here is get to that portion of this. So what we have done is identify the timeline. We've identified the amounts that the data indicated, and then we brought it all together with our snow map. So from here, what we always like to do at the end of our videos is give Q&A because, like you said, some people are curious about my town. So first off, what I want to say is if you appreciate the Facebook Lives, make sure you follow my page or Rick's. You will be getting alerts when we go live so that you'll be able to get in on these videos, ask your questions personally to me and Rick, and we're going to personally answer your questions. If you like the deeper dive, the Facebook Lives, the YouTube Lives allow us to do this. And also you can tell us what you're seeing in the live, which we love. Second, if you haven't shared the video, please share the video on your page because it plays in its entirety after it's done. So your brother's ex-girlfriend's former roommate may join a little bit at the end of the video and say, I missed everything. I want to see the whole thing. Well, then they can come in later and they can watch it. So share the video. And please, if you guys enjoy our Facebook Lives, throw some thumbs up and some hearts. So let's do this, Rick, into questions. I'm going to start you off. Brittany or Shirley is asking out of Corydon, how much snow for Corydon? And by the way, we're going to give ranges. We're not going to say, Corydon, you're going to get 1.267, inches of snow.
That's not just how it works. We can't do that. So Corydon right now 1 to 3, and I do want to describe the type of snow because it's a lower ratio. This is going to be wet, heavy, and it's going to be kind of slushy too. Especially, listen, the main roads that get treated are going to be in good shape, and that's because pavement temperatures are still around 40, which means if you give crews some time, it would be okay. And that's kind of why I think it's inevitable for some delays around the area. But for generally speaking, we're looking at a heavier snow. Yeah. It's the good packing snow you can blast on with a snowball someone. Not you. I didn't say no.
Who's he blasting
anybody
with a snowball?
Okay. Never mind. Good for making snowmen. Listen, there's gonna be a snowball fight somewhere. I can guarantee it. Hopefully, I do not get hit with one of those in the head. But anyways,
And by the way, somebody mentioned in Bedford, Indiana, that the roads are already covered.
really
So yeah.
awesome. Okay, so that's what's great about these. We need you just
know.
as much as you need us.
You're an army
Tell
of
us
spotters.
what's happening. What are you seeing out there? Bedford right now, we got the report that we have snow. If you could let us know how much it is, what it's looking like out there in your location, we would love to hear from you. This is at this point, Mark and I, we go through all the science part, we go through the forecasting elements, but now is the time to chat. It's time for us to sit down just like we would if we were sitting, let's say at a table or on the couch just hanging out. And this is the opportunity for us to have a conversation, answer questions, get to know one another. There's some people here that I recognize the names because you see them
The
in here every
regulars,
time.
yeah.
The regs, the regulars. So, we love having you in here. And thank you so much for joining us and trusting us. And please,
And this is, by the way, since we've gone into C,
yeah,
this is by far the largest video we've had in here. I mean, we last year when we had the April 2nd tornado where Louisville got hit with an EF3, we had 1.2 million views that day. But we peaked so far at an instantaneous thousands of people in here. So like
it's the
Rick
first
said,
to know.
I know you can sense it. So Rick, I'm going to take this one because I like this one. So Derek said, should JCPS cancel school for tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
So I'll answer this one because I actually do enjoy this. So you may know this. I advise almost all of University of Louisville athletics. I advise for generally any NCAA level athletics that occur here. I've worked with the NCAA on regional events, super regional events. I've worked with them on national championship events. And so I also speak with many school systems in our area. And what I will tell you is what I tell every superintendent or person in the schools that's in charge of roads, the same thing that I would tell you. And what I would tell them is that I can't make that decision for you. All I can tell you is what Mother Nature is going to bring. So I can tell you that Louisville's going to see accumulating snow tonight. I can tell you the time that it's going to fall is probably going to be, the steadiest will be between midnight and around 6. I can tell you that in that period where it's falling, the roads are going to deteriorate. I can tell you that the pavement temperatures are above freezing in Louisville. This should pay some dividends on our main roads, but it will not pay dividends on overpasses, on elevated surfaces, your driveway, or the neighborhoods. And I can tell you what JCPS is going to have to decide, Rick, is I go out, and I know they send spotters out because I've worked with JCPS before. So they're going to send spotters out that go around to different neighborhoods and areas around the city and report back. And then they will make those decisions at the level once they report back. But those spotters normally go out around 4. The road conditions are going to be worse, and then they're going to be improving. I do suspect some schools are going to close. I do suspect that some schools are going to utilize the 2-hour delay.
Right.
And I think that if you're staying on the lower end of that range, Southern Indiana may end up a little bit lower. However, Southern Indiana has been a little bit colder as well, so those roads may not hold up that well.
They may have the ability to stick.
Louisville's urban heat island is going to help keep those pavement temps a little bit warmer.
As it always does. And hey, I just wanted to mention, because we're getting a bunch of people responding. Melody Hatter says nothing in Radcliffe.
Okay.
And Brittany Puckett says rain in Upton.
Okay. Okay, good. Upton, Kentucky. Good
Upton,
information.
Yep. And then Ginny says dry in PRP right now, which just shows you the variety of what's going on around the area. And then other people asking, could we see that map one more time? Could we check that out and just get another glance at this? I know someone asked, let me see. I think it was New Albany.
And one thing I just want to say, because we're going to put the map back up, but remember, what you're going to see at 10, I can assure you will be different. And I want to just be 100% transparent. We put the 2 to 4 very strategically where we did, because we wanted to see the late data and make county by county tweaks. Right. And I really want to be clear, we are going to be making county by county tweaks. Now you can see visually it's close to Louisville. And that's one of the things that I want to look at. And Southern Indiana, I was very strategic in putting that up to 1 towards Paoli, because some of the data may require us to make an adjustment downward in our northern counties. We hate to go downward only because some people feel somewhat disappointed, but in the end, we got to get the forecast right.
You got to get it right. And just for example, someone in Bardstown, listen, if you're asking Brittany Gibson, snow in Bardstown, look at how close you are to being on the edge of the 1 to 3 and 2 to 4. For now, you are in the 1 to 3, which means about an inch of snow up to 3. You got to look at both sides of the range, but that 2 to 4 is very close. Could it get pushed further off to the east? Yeah, sure. But this is something that we're going to be tweaking here for the 10 o'clock and the 11 o'clock news, which is very important. So we appreciate you on here, but we also want to have you on TV. And also, let's see if
Here's a
anyone...
great one. Michelle just said, nothing in Valley Station yet, but my kids are doing snow dances to bring in the snow. That's the thing. You and I both lived in heavy snow climates at one portion of our lives. I remember, and I'll date myself a little bit on this one, I went through the 1993 superstorm. So this storm is referred to as the storm of the century. It produced a massive severe weather and tornado outbreak in parts of Florida. And then it roared up the Appalachians, producing hellacious snow amounts. Where I was located in this storm, I saw 43 inches of snow, Rick, in 24 hours.
43?
In 24 hours.
Oh
now, the temperature behind it dropped to about 15 to 20 below zero. So every piece of snow turned into these basically icebergs. And then the plows would go by and push this into your driveway. So it became this impossibility of you could get your driveway shoveled up to where that ice was, and then you couldn't get that out.
You needed
So
to use like
people
one of
were-
the spades. You couldn't get through with a snow shovel.
People were using chisels and
Yeah, it
hammers,
was
and then to try to lift it was nearly impossible. So from this, you may then understand why my opinion sometimes when it comes to snow, and because it causes so many issues in our area, that I could do without seeing it, but I get the kids do want to see it. And I know Mia will have a great time. Gil was talking about his daughters. I was asking Gil Corsi earlier, if we get snows, are you going to be out there playing with your daughters? And he said, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough too where you can play in it, but you may not have to clean it up. With temperatures going above freezing, you're not going to break your back shoveling. That's something I can promise you. With the low snow total amounts, I can't emphasize this enough. We're not getting feet of snow. I mean, this is not that. This is a couple inches of snow, some a little bit higher, some a little bit less. You're not just enjoy what you can of it. I know sometimes I haven't seen any bread milk, themes going around or memes or anything.
They will be.
They will. Okay. Well, I haven't seen any yet, which is nice, which kind of allows people to tone it down, realizing, yes, we're going to get snow. This is not going to be something major when it comes to snowfall amounts. So there's another look.
And we've put this, by the way, into what we refer to as our 4-box. This is something that's really valuable. Rick, you can see that
it's
preset
cooling.
really
It's in
starting to pick up,
Seymour.
and then look at Seymour.
Yeah.
So this is, again, one of the things we love about Studio C is Rick and I can just peel out. We can come into Studio C, and you can see the tech we have. I mean, we have the ability to show our radar that we call the analyst on the top right. This is our high res, the one we use for severe. We can show you multiple of our web cameras out there simultaneously while we're talking in the corner, and we can show you our snow map here. So I love the tech in C. I love our streams. These are fun for us. Tiring, but fun. Rick, somebody saying, Debbie says, adults love the snow as well. Some of us are winter snow lovers and some are Grinches. I get it. And that's, that's the beauty of everything. Everybody's love of weather is different. I even hear people say I love severe weather. And you know me, I kind of get a little twitch with that. But look, I get it.
Our perspective's different. Yeah.
I mean, my perspective is a guy that was, that's a storm chaser, and remembering tornadoes ripping into towns. And that's why I just despise severe weather at this point in my career. But I get it. Everybody has a different interest when it comes to weather. Dana Coulter is asking, at a Bowling Green, where the buses be able to go through in the morning?
I mean, that again, ultimately, we don't make that decision.
They
That's
should
up
be
to the
improving
schools.
on the time, I think.
They should be improving. You have to give it some time. That's why we keep saying delay is probably one of the wisest solutions for a
toolbox,
lot of
yeah.
these. Yeah, just because it gives a couple hours extra for the crews to get out, and it also allows the snow to have stopped for several hours, because usually crews they'll go out while the snow is coming down, but really a majority of the work is done once it stops, and then you can clear it and not have to come back through and make a second pass. So my belief, things will be rapidly improving during the morning hours. It's really that midnight to 5 a.m. time frame that if you have to be out because of the intensity of snow, it's going to be able to overcome some of these warmer pavement temperatures. And oh, baby, here we go.
Snow lover. So
I feel like
Rick,
we need some sort of music for this.
do we
Like some.
we don't.
I don't think we can. No,
Is
we
there any
can't.
music
No.
in there?
Yeah, but
I can put it on my phone.
Yeah, but we have to pay for it. Let's not do that.
Oh.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
But
so
here's the thing
well.
I noticed about the Seymour camera, Rick, is there's ruts,
Yeah,
there's grooves,
You can see the grooves.
and that's showing you that when this rips into snow, it's going to stick. It's going to stick, and I
There's
think
a lot of people out on the road right now. It's 150. There's a
and
lot.
that kind of makes me a little nervous. The fact that it's like that already, and
That happened fast.
yeah, that didn't it?
Yeah.
That deteriorated really, really quickly there. So again, conditions are going downhill in parts of our area right now. I want to read this comment because I think this is an interesting one. Somebody just said something about being from LA. I moved from LA to Louisville, and that's when they saw their first snowstorm. Everybody ran to the grocery store and bought bread and milk. I couldn't believe it. It is,
That's David Lee. I love you, David Lee. He
and
always
that
comments.
is it's a real phenomenon. So this is my joke always. I've always wanted to do this. So I've always wanted to do, if there's like a winter storm, like let's say 5 days out, I've wanted to go into the grocery store and just walk into the bread and milk, walk into the aisle, grab a loaf of bread, and make sure I'm in a suit with my hair done like I wear on TV so you could tell. Be wearing a suit, and then grab bread and grab milk and watch the people. They'd be like, he's not telling us something. He's holding
He's
back
holding
from
out.
us.
And then just no storm coming.
And then just walk right out and leave.
But
I
there's
know
only two
somebody would
items.
take a picture and
You'd be like,
post it.
"What is going on?"
I saw Mark Weinberg in the bread and milk aisle. He's not telling us something.
I also don't know what is it with the bread and milk. I mean, what are you making?
Milk
Sandwiches,
sandwiches,
yeah, or French toast? I don't
well,
know.
eggs they pick up too. So maybe they're making French toast, or maybe they're
Okay, that's
making egg
fine.
sandwiches
I love a good egg
with a
sandwich.
nice glass of milk. A nice glass of milk.
Yeah, you can't. A nice glass of milk really gets the day started right.
So Courtney is asking, will Louisville ever see a 1994 storm? These are things that are legitimate questions, but also fears. When we know that Mother Nature's been able to do it, I'll use 1974 as an example. So 1974 is before my time here. I was working out at the gym one day. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but it was right after the 2012 tornado outbreak in Henryville and Pekin and Borden. And I saw Tom Wills at the gym. And so I went up to Tom and we were just talking. Obviously, Tom has been through so much. Tom's like Mount Rushmore of weather in this area. And we were just talking about what we had gone through and what it was like to be on TV during that type of an event and knowing what you guys were dealing with. And Tom said something to me about 1974. He said that in 1974, I had 6 of the Henryville storms at the same time. So there were 6 violent tornadoes on the ground at the same time, which brings me back around to the story. The story is that 1974 produced multiple violent tornadoes in our area at the same time. What we know about that is Mother Nature has now proven her point, that she has done it before and she will do it again. And 1994 will happen again. The 1994 blizzard will happen again. The 2004 storm that produced right before Christmas snow drifts over homes in Salem and Seymour will happen again. So these are all of these events, because they did happen, prove one thing, and that is Mother Nature is capable.
And it's capable, and sometimes I hate to say it can do worse.
I know.
You know, and that's the thing. It's like, is that the highest level, or is there something worse than that? And it's, you know, especially after the hurricane season we just had, you know, Melissa hitting Jamaica was one of those ones. Just like, yeah, the hurricane season was, not a single hurricane made landfall in the U.S. Miraculous, but Jamaica got crushed. So yeah, we talk about every single season, all the threats we have. Obviously, at this one, we're looking at snow. Someone did ask me, you read my mind, to put up radar one more time.
Was that about what you were
yeah,
going to
that's
ask?
exactly what I was going to ask you to do. So you can actually see what's filling in around Tell City. That's going to be Louisville's growing chance here in the coming hours. It's just before 9. It's 8:51. So that precipitation now, Mark, is closing in on Louisville.
Yeah, and you can see on the top right part of the screen there, that is, we didn't colorize it just because it's a little bit easier to see, but you can see that rain is, the precip is inbound towards Louisville. And let me actually animate this over the last hour just so you can get a sense. We are T-minus 60 minutes to 90 minutes
Yeah, it
from
looks it's moving
onset.
faster than some of the data showed.
Yeah, the data was a little bit more towards 11, but you can definitely see very clearly. And look at the temperatures where it's already gone to snow. Seymour sitting at 30 degrees. Corydon is still in the mix. and that's why the temp's at 34. But once that onset, what's near Tell City hits your area, the temps will probably tank 2.5, 3 degrees, and that should set the tone for Louisville.
Mary said a little sleet about 3 miles out of DePaul.
Okay.
And then sleet snow mix in Brandenburg right now from Ray. Jane says hi. Hey, right back at you, Jane. So yeah, a lot of people chiming in. We appreciate all these reports. Angela saying, "Yay, she's getting snow."
It is one of those things where I find snow to be the hardest thing we deal with. Some people might say, well, isn't it severe weather? Nobody wants that. When you deal with snow, there are people that love it so much that they'll get mad. Like, I'll just use an example. Let's say we have a 1 to 3 for blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to say Pittsburgh. We don't have a Pittsburgh in our area. So we have a 1 to 3 for Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh gets half an inch. I would say you're only a half an inch out of range. That's not far.
If it was rain, it'd be different.
But the person that's there that was hoping to get the high side of the range would be really, really frustrated.
Yeah.
So.
And I understand that, and that's why that's why we give ranges. If you're outside of the range, it's just the way it goes. We do the best we can do given the data we have. But hopefully that's not the case. Just to be clear,
I feel pretty comfortable on the ranges. The areas that I would have, the only area that I think could come in under, I'm going to say Paoli. I'm going to say Salem. I'm going to say maybe north of Corden, maybe Scottsburg. I think that little area is the only one that may underproduce.
And then our southernmost communities, Glens Ford, Columbia.
I think we're keeping pretty realistic of under for them.
That area of Indiana is just kind of, it's one of those spots where you may have hoped for more, but this won't be yours.
So it's 8:54. I want to give you guys 3 more questions here before we end the video. Number one, if you're on YouTube, we appreciate you guys jumping in. If you're on Rick's Facebook page, or on my page, or on the WDRB News page, I want you guys to be looking at the screen and see hearts and thumbs up flying up along the side of the screen. I'm looking right now, so I will see if you guys are actually doing your work. And just share the video, because again, even if somebody wants to come in later and watch this video, it will be posted on both of our pages so that you could come in after and watch. And I see the thumbs up and hearts. So we got 3 more questions. Rick, I'm going to let you do first. I'm going to let you do first and third. So you call the first question.
Okay. I'm getting one from Stacy Huber. And Stacy, I'm not going to ignore this one. How much for Louisville? I get it, the most densely populated area. So I'm going to hit this one. We have a range of 1 to 3. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be more of a wet, heavier snow. It's going to be a lot more slushy. 1 to 3 inches of snow means anywhere from 1 at a bare minimum up to 3. And that's going to fall during the overnight hours tonight. And between midnight and 5 is when we'll probably have the highest intensity of snow. During that time, the higher intensity can overcome the pavement temperatures, which are still in the 40s, which means if it's lighter snow in downtown Louisville, it's going to be harder for it to stick. But because it comes down at a pretty good clip, there will be several hours where we have snow-covered roads. Now, once the snow stops and the crews get out, we're going to see quick improvements for the morning hours. So that hopefully gives you a quick little synopsis of what you should expect here in Louisville. And question number 2, I think that I want to answer this one, and I love this because it's a good question. And I think a lot of people are probably asking. You kind of alluded to this. Is this going to be good snowman snow, or is this going to be a dry snow? So I felt like that's one I want to take. So you know the science behind this. When it's super cold, we get different types of shapes and different moisture levels in the actual snow. And I'll use this as an example. So tonight's going to be about, if a full inch of liquid equivalent was to fall out of the sky, it would equate to 9 inches. That is heavy, wet snow. I mean, really heavy and wet. The kind of snow, let's say if our temperature right now was 15, that same amount of 1 inch could produce 20 or 25 inches of snow. The dry and fluffy stuff. And so the science behind this is when the temperatures are near freezing, we traditionally get wetter, heavier snow. Wetter, heavier snow is great for building snowmen. It's fantastic for sledding, because you can kind of make those jumps. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but you could if you wanted to, because it'll pack. Did you ever do that when you're? Yes.
I knew it. I knew it. Yes. I knew you did. I did too.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie. Do you remember that?
The tubes.
The tubes were brutal off those jumps.
I used to get crushed.
The problem was you would, when the tube went in the air, it would come out from under you, and you would land right on your back.
Yeah.
So
There's-
don't do that.
Yeah.
We are
Don't
speaking
be like
from
us.
experience. Don't be Rick and me. You can see the problems it's caused. All right, Rick, last question is going to be yours for the night, my friend.
Okay.
You call it.
Let's see.
And you can choose. Find something you love.
Well, Steve said you're the man, so that's pretty funny. But that's not a question. I know, but I just thought I'd throw that in there for the sake of it because that's pretty funny. We put the shovel up. Hold on.
No, I don't like that.
I don't like
one.
that. I'm waiting. Let's see. Let's hit the questions, and it's your last chance.
The last question. You gotta
Type
get
away.
Rick's attention here.
Jacqueline said we all do it, and still did it, and still do it. Yeah, sledding. I loved going sledding. That was one of the best things. My brothers would help me make jumps, and I was like this.
You and your brothers are
destroyed.
crazy.
They tortured me. I mean, they tortured me growing
They
up.
might be watching right now.
No, they definitely aren't. So that's fine.
All right, here let's finish it with our last question.
You
for
got
the night.
one?
I'm gonna throw it at you. You already mentioned Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a Oldham County one here, and asking for tomorrow. So
Okay.
Oldham, I think the reason I'm gonna choose this one, Rick, is Oldham is a little bit more towards an area that we do think could do a little bit better.
We could see that enhancement near the deformation zone, and that's you're basically on the edge of the 1 to 3 to the 2 to 4, and that's what will be defining at 10 o'clock is whether or not we feel more the 1 to 3 or the 2 to 4. So right now, I'm going to say 1 to 3, but you could end up on the higher end of that range. And that's what I'm going to go with for you, just because I do feel like you can get 1 and you can get 2, but it's probably going to be on the higher end of that 1 to 3 range. That would be my guess for you in Oldham. And again, it's going to be that wet, heavier snow. It's not going to be fluffy or powdery. And it's going to fall overnight. You're going to wake up, and the only thing left falling, if you're up at 7 a.m., will be flurries.
And so in transparency, Oldham County, as Rick mentioned, we're right on the edge. Rick, I've been sneaking a couple of peeks at the late data. I do think that I'm going to increase part of the area here.
Okay.
So I do think that we're going to need to increase a small portion of the area. And I think we'll make some minor adjustments here, but that 2 to 4 is the one that I think we're going to need to tweak a little bit.
Got it.
We positioned ourselves appropriately, I think, on that, and we'll probably be making county by county adjustments here for WDRB News at 10. So for everybody in here joining us on our Facebook Live, let me just show you again all the tools that we're going to have as we go through winter, where we can 4-box between radar, our camera network, Rick and I, our graphics, when we need to show you our graphics large, when we need to bring those graphics into a scenario where we want you to see us. We want to show you the graphics full so that you can get all of that information. No, we want to actually show you where we're talking. Actually, you know what? Let's make ourselves a little bit larger. We just want to, we're going to be bringing broadcast quality into the streaming space. Studio C, Rick, was our dream to bring broadcast quality into the streaming space, because we saw I hate to say it, but we saw I saw somebody one time in a warehouse that was doing a weather video. They were literally in a warehouse, and it was like this moment like, we can do better than that, and we should bring better than that into the streaming space. And WDRB Streams out of C is that. That is our dream coming into reality. If you guys love this and enjoy these, thumbs up, hearts across the screen, share the video. And again, what we need you from now here to do is, Rick's going to be on WDRB News at 11. I'm going to be on WDRB News at 10. We together are going to turn off C, go back into our main studio, and we're going to analyze the data and make those adjustments that need to be made.
Another point, pictures.
Yeah, send us your pictures. We'd love to show them on TV.
Yeah, I mean, Mark always has a post pinned at the top of his page, but not the pictures, I mean, tonight, but even tomorrow. If you snap a photo tomorrow and you don't think about the two of us, send it to us so we can look at the pictures.
Kids making snowmen are always good TV time.
The best TV time. So yeah, we want to see your pictures too. Don't forget about that.
No tubes going off of jumps.
No video. Yeah, we'll just get in trouble.
So we appreciate you guys joining us on our live tonight. I don't think one's going to be necessary again tonight, but we may do some more through the week. As you can see, this is a great way for us to communicate in a different way with you, get your questions, and be more interactive. So we appreciate you guys joining us here on our streaming video tonight. If you guys have time tonight, I'll be on WDRB News at 10 o'clock, updating radar. 10:22, I'll be updating snow timeline through the overnight and the totals. 10:37, I'm going to be updating you based on another system later in the week that we think has potential for snow showers. You're like, Mark, 10 o'clock's not ideal for me because I got to watch blah, blah, blah tonight. Well, Rick's like, okay, I'm going to be on at 11 o'clock
got you.
talking about radar, and I'm going to be updating you on snow totals at 11:22. Oh, no, 11:17?
11:17.
So 11:17 and 11:22. I'll see you guys on WDRB News. Rick DeLuca will see you guys on